What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what really moved and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did have a pretty kick-ass day, went up 3.27%, 2142 the low, 2220 the high. So a new 52-week high was hit today. Welcome to the $22 range. Aside from that, though, you did see relatively low volume. So 49 million shares being traded, 74 is the average. So what really kickstarted the good momentum today was data. So we did have the retail sales, also the manufacturing and initial jobless claims all coming in better than anticipated, and market took this for what it was actually worth, which is very optimistic, really moved higher. Enough of this kind of inverse BS that the market's been in, where we wanted kind of slight misses just to justify kind of rate cuts. The market took this, saw it was positive, and kind of just moved higher. Aside from that, though, SoFi also did put out news early this morning, and that was this right here. So Paychex and SoFi join forces to expand financial well-being offerings. So this is good stuff. So it's kind of gives SoFi a cost-effective distribution channel for loans, refinancing, and whatever else. Aside from that, it's kind of part of, it fits very well with what SoFi is trying to do. So SoFi at work. So yeah, I think generally this is a good thing. Is this a reason to stop what you're doing and kind of buy a SoFi? I don't know about that. I think just the FOMO behind the scenes is relatively good, but this is another foundation piece that I've been really talking about that SoFi is building and will really do massive things in the foreseeable future. So I think there's going to be a lot more to this that comes over the next couple of quarters. Let me know your viewpoint on this in the comments below. Generally, over this last week, we've seen a lot of stocks, including SoFi, hit 52-week highs multiple different times. And I think big money is starting to catch on to that. Even though today was relatively low volume, you did see over this last week moving from money markets to the equity and crypto, roughly around $7.26 billion. Still though, there's $7.07 trillion sitting in money markets. So they're just waiting for the green light confirmation, most likely of either future cuts or something else to kind of move out into the equity. And this is something I've talked about as a broader rotation, similar to what happened between 2020 and 2021 when everything and like their dog just went up. But still, big money is feeling a little bit more confident. So that's kind of a good thing. So let me know your viewpoint on that. And if you think another similar 2020 to 2021 rotation is going to occur. And in case you do not know, you can kind of just generally look at what happened to every single stock during that time frame. It just went up to the moon. It didn't matter if you didn't put out news for the last year. Every stock was running up. And I remember during that time frame, I was trading OTC stocks like multiple times a day because people's appetite for risk was insane. So it doesn't matter if they were a dormant company, CE tag, OTC stock, like they were just going up like crazy. So potentially this time around, we could see that happen again, which would put SoFi at even higher highs. Aside from all of that though, looking at shorts, they still didn't really do all that much today. They did return 156,000 shares. 14.26% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 154 million shares overall being shorted. So when it comes to this whole week, shorts have been rather timid. With tomorrow being Friday, they could wake up a little bit. We have a lot of big data points on a side note that could cause some volatility. So for instance, we have the building permits, starts, and then the Michigan consumer sentiment. So I feel like this is going to be the tiding point for the kind of inflationary data because PPI came in positive, CPI was relatively negative. So this one might be that kind of like make it or break it type of thing. So stay tuned for that. Current forecast is 60.5. Aside from that though, looking at the options, 48 million in calls, 7.7 million in puts. 47% of all the options being done were bullish in nature. So definitely good to see. And it's kind of funny now. I know I've kind of bring this up on occasion, but back in the day, and when I say back in the day, that was almost like simply a quarter ago. So almost like 3, 4, maybe even 5 months ago, you had on average like maybe $3 million in SoFi options every single day. And that was kind of heavy. That was high. So now we're getting 55 million, 39 million, 51, 102, 143, 153. So you're getting a lot of insane amount of volume getting in. So big money definitely does see a lot of upside still with SoFi. Aside from all that though, looking at the bulls, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 2250 going into a close of business day tomorrow, and even higher the following week. So that is roughly around that $24 to $25 range. And then the bears are anticipating a little bit more of a pullback to possibly roughly like that 21 to 2150 for tomorrow. With tomorrow being Friday, just take note of this. So this week is a monthly chain, so a little bit more active. So you have 25,000 at that 16, 39,000 at that 20, 27,000 at that 21, and then 31,000 at that 22. So if SoFi is able to hold that $22 range, then yeah, you might see a nice continued push going into next week, more of a gamma squeeze. And this is something that has happened the last 3 weeks, is that you have a lot of in the money options, and then market makers on the Monday buy it up and pretty much kickstart the broader week. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. So once again, a lot of big buys, 1.3, 6.8, 1.5, right there, a lot more big ones. So a ton of big transactions throughout the day. And this is something I've really brought up in the past, because for those of you that are new to the channel, I always like to analyze where volume comes from, because even though SoFi did have somewhat lower volume, it's good to see institutions trading it rather than algorithmic trading, because that is somewhat hollow. I'd rather see institutions trading it, even if it is selling, rather than algos. So it's good to see institutions massively trading it, and even on the dark pool, same exact thing. So about 20 minutes ago, you had 1.9 million, 1.4, 1.8. So yeah, a lot of big money definitely getting in. And so of course, dark pool, as I always explain, is linked more common than not to shorts and hedge funds. So hedge funds are definitely buying up SoFi, even though it's hitting 52-week highs. Big money is seeing clearly more upside with it right now at 2209, where it did close at. It is trading between this R3 and this R2. So 2257 is going to be that key point to really watch for it to get above tomorrow. That would be best case scenario. And then flip side, 2034 is going to be that next strong support. So if we do have some relatively good data, because the market seems to be kind of taking the data for face value. So if it is positive, you're going to see the market really move higher. So 2257 is going to be that key point to watch for. And if it does and is able to close above that, then you never know. Going into earnings, you could see moving over to the classic 2840. Aside from all of that though, you actually did have another new analyst rating. Wasn't the highest, but still $20 is pretty a-okay to me. So you had a Matthew, who has a 36% success rating, so take that with a grain of salt. 𝗖𝗓𝗡 and $20 price target. So pretty good stuff. As a consensus, 1708 is that price target, representing a 22.68% downside from these prices. And so just generally over the last 2 weeks, we've received a good, 8, 9 ratings, despite their earnings almost being like a week away. So doesn't make sense, but it just goes to show how much analysts are kind of like sheep. They see a popular stock that's gaining some pretty good momentum, and they want to give some ratings because it gets their name out there and whatever else. But post Q2 earnings, you should see a rush of probably like 15 new ratings. So everyone that gave ratings over the last week and a half, they'll be re-rating. So definitely something to stay tuned for. Aside from that, I bring this up almost every video. There's not really much negatives to bring, to point out, aside from it just being overbought. But everything is overbought and going through a little bit more of a FOMO phase. So SoFi and just fintechs did do very, very well today. And yeah, honestly, I think it does go to show that there is going to be higher highs coming. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Do you think $28 is realistic going into the earnings, or do you think that there is going to be a pullback? And potentially, what would be that prompts it? Do you think it's going to be Trump kind of speaking up about tariffs again, going after Powell? Do you think it's going to be the data tomorrow? What do you think is going to cause the next pullback? Or do you think it's just going to keep on going up to 28, 30? What's your kind of viewpoint on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.